Hey everybody, it's Bill from Orange County Beekeeping. We're going to dive into how to overwinter bees. Believe it or not, I've gotten many calls from all over the United States, people asking me how to keep winter bees. The funny thing is I tell them all I live in Southern California and I have no need to overwinter bees. Wanting to always expand our horizons, be better beekeepers, and shame on us if we don't learn something. We went up into the elevation 7,500 feet to find the best method for overwintering bees. It is late October, the chill is in the air, and we're setting up for winter testing. Once again, 7,500 feet above sea level. We will be taking a 4.5 frames of bees with some forage, that's pollen and honey, and we'll be placing it into a Hive IQ box. You are going to find that our configuration is a bit crazy, mentally unsound, and just completely wrong. But we already know, because we did this last winter and it was a longer winter, that we can put 4.5 frames of bees into a Hive IQ box, adding a frame feeder, a frame of pollen, and a frame of honey, and the bees will survive. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking for something beyond survival. We are looking for thrivival. We want these bees to thrive, not survive, but to thrive and be booming come springtime. With the whole family involved in this, how could we not succeed? Grady will be leading the expedition today. He has called for the standard bet for queen spotting.
Use my eyes.
Okay, yes sir. What about Nick's eyes? Let's see who spots the queen first. Whoever spots the queen first gets cold beer. Or as Grady says. What do you say, Grady?
Root beer. Root beer.
Okay, you gonna blow some smoke?
They're looking. Oh yeah, I found it. Found it.
Okay, so she's there.
Yeah.
I found it.
Okay.
Before
You
you.
found it first. Nice.
Root beer.
Where's it at?
Right here.
See that red dot? It's like towards the left side of the frame.
Okay. Grady with the root beer score today. Grady is the victor for queen spotting today, while his older brother Gavin graciously acknowledges Grady's win. Way to go, Gavin. We'll speed this up a bit as we place frames in. As you notice, Grady's curiosity never stops in this. I think it's just fantastic. He keeps inviting Nick to stand closer. Look at the brood. This is pupa. This is larva. He's into it. Grady turns to Nick, gets a couple bees off of him, doesn't want him to get stung. Turns back around, gives me some advice on how to pull frames in cold weather. Now he wants to hold it. He wants to look at it. He wants to identify larva, eggs, pupa. Wait a minute, what's going on now?
Okay, one sting me.
Did it sting you or did it sting your glove?
No, it's just in my glove.
Okay, you're okay then.
I was trying to get away. The stinger's like fully in. You can't pull it out.
Alright, I'll deal with it.
Oh, there it is.
Pulled it out, huh?
Bee. Thanks for stinging me. Oh. So this is what their stinger looks like.
Wow.
I bet you Nick's been stung.
Yeah.
The specifications on the Hive IQ boxes are very tight. It's kind of the perfect bee space and not a lot of room for slop. There is a lot of ongoing, very impressive engineering that has gone into and continues to go into these Hive IQs. All right, those of you that are paying attention, you are now looking at Grady going, what is he doing putting on a second box in late October going into a predicted cold, wet winter? I'm super glad you guys are all asking yourself that same question. What are these crazy beekeepers doing putting on a second brood box going into winter with only 4.5 frames of bees? The manufacturers of Hive IQ thought we were absolutely crazy and have lost our mind by setting this hive up this way. But I explained to them, I already know the bees will live in a single box with a feeder in them. We've already done that, and it was a long, cold winter, and the bees survived just fine. By adding a top brood box that contains a frame feeder, that's a 1 gallon frame feeder, and we're going to put a 3-to-1 ratio in there. That's 3 parts sugar, 1 part water. Why, you ask? By keeping this feeder constantly full before going into wintertime, late in the fall, the bees are more apt to store this quicker because they'll be dehydrating it less. And the last thing we want in the hive going into winter is more hydration, more liquid, more condensation. To do this in a wood hive and leave that much open space would create thermal regulation problems, and most likely the bees would not survive wintertime. Remember, we're looking for thrivival, not survival. Grady's going to put the lid on this hive. The lid, I should say this, the lid, insulation value R10. I'm going to say that again, an R10 insulation value. The boxes have an R7 insulation value. That's better than a lot of homes here in Southern California. All right, a very quick recap. Hive IQ, 2 deep boxes. We will start at the bottom board. It is a screened bottom board. It is only closed, again, 3/4 of the way, open 1/4 of the way. In the bottom box, there's 4.5 frames of bees. The rest of the box is occupied by frames. The top box is all foundation. There is no pulled comb. It is our heavy waxed acorn foundation along with one 1-gallon frame feeder with a 3-to-1 sugar to water ratio syrup. Alrighty, you guys, the wood hives now. The wood hive, the first wood hive right there has twice the amount of bees in it than the Hive IQ. Again, 2 times the amount of bees. This is the second wood hive, and it has been set up with not 1, not 2, but 3 times the amount of bees we have in the Hive IQ. So the wood boxes are housing twice as many bees and 3 times as many bees. I thoroughly believe the bees in the wood boxes will need more feeding than the bees in the Hive IQ. Not just because there's more bees, but it will take a whole lot more energy to keep the wood boxes warm during the winter. And of course, we will be insulating the wood boxes, tops, sides, all of it. We have even formulated our own batch of winter feed that we will be putting on these hives. The goal here is a successful overwintering, coming out into spring, and showing you guys exactly how to do it. You can see by our blinding working speed that winter is just around the corner. Hang tight because the snow is on the way. As you guys can see, we did not wrap the Hive IQ box. We left it alone. Again, the bottom board is open 1/4 of the way, closed 3/4 of the way. This way, if we need to look inside, it's relatively easy to get to. Let's talk about the wood hives for a minute. They're completely insulated, top and around the sides 360 degrees. We also have the Orange County Beekeeping Supplies custom box feeder. The box feeder also has moisture wicking components in it. That way we're trying to keep all the moisture out of the hive during this cold, snowy winter. Now, in between snowstorms, we're going to race up the hill and we're going to jump into these boxes. We're going to take a look, give you guys a look, and see what's going on in both the Hive IQ, the polystyrene hive, and the Langstroth style hives, the wood hives. Now hurry up, people. We are on mission because there's another storm coming in right behind us. Now, upon opening the hive, the first thing I see is some dead bees in the feeder. Now, I attribute this to this feeder being too full. We are going to reduce the amount of syrup in there by half because we just don't have the amount of bees that can drink a full gallon of syrup in this hive currently. We're all super anxious to stick our heads in to see if the bees are alive, what they're doing. We'll get this frame feeder out of your way so you can see in there and we can see in there. Where to put it? Where to put it? We're going to go dump some out over by the pine trees, get into the root system, give the trees something delicious to mac on. Now, looking down, we don't see a full-blown cluster of bees like we would see in a wood box. We see bees moving around. We see bees to the outside frames. Let's take off this top box and we can get a good look in there. Current temperatures are 38 degrees. We are well above freezing. And this yard gets the warmest sun of the day, about 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. How's the bottom look?
There's bees on the bottom.
Okay, so we'll be very careful with that. As Gavin points out, they're not in a solid cluster. They've moved up a little bit into the upper box. Or even if I open up my wood frame hives in Orange County during the wintertime, the bees are clustered together. So this is a great sign that this hive is very, very well insulated. We are moving the bees off the top of the frames because we're going to place the pollen patties in the correct position. With the pollen patties placed to the far right, the nurse bees are not getting them, therefore it's not being distributed through the hive. We're going to move the pollen patties right on top in the middle of the frames. That way the nurse bees are right underneath and they will properly distribute the pollen patties. The question is, why are we putting pollen patties on in the middle of winter when it's 11 degrees out at night? Well, again, we're doing experiments so you guys don't have to. We're putting pollen patties on this in the middle of winter to see if we can actually get this hive to brood up. So we're going to go in here to the middle of the hive. We're going to see that what little pollen has been ingested or used, if it has promoted some kind of buildup, if they are actually laying in this hive in the middle of the winter. Because the wood hives, the queens are shut down. They are not laying at all. We're going to speed this up, get through it, and see if we can find any evidence that the queen is laying. Queen?
And brood.
Okay.
Still brooding out in the middle of winter.
Okay, so keep your head back off so it doesn't shadow. You can step back, you don't have to fall back. Okay. So, hold it, Nick. Check it out, man. Temperature's warm enough. We're okay. I want this crew to see the queen, eggs, brood, what's going on in this hive in the wintertime. I just put it on zoom for a minute. I'll zoom up on that frame.
You want me to zoom?
It's already zoomed in.
Okay.
Think so.
That was super cool. It's cool to see the queen.
We have it back and we'll
Got it.
got it. All right, I want everybody to kind of look into the bottom of these cells. You're going to see larvae, you're going to see eggs. I am quite surprised to see this queen laying so much.
I see her. If anything, a little more that way. I lost her.
It's all right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had a little bit. With zoom.
Man, there's larvae, there's egg. Okay, we'll slow this right down real slow. Looking into the bottom of the cells, you will see the larvae. You will see the gel that they're swimming in. You will see a few eggs, but mostly you're going to see gel and larvae in there. Pretty amazing for being 11 degrees at night and winter conditions. I am going to begin to put this hive back together. At this point, Gavin mentions his concern about running 2 boxes with only 4.5 frames of bees, and it's late February, still very cold. Again, we already know we can overwinter like this in a Hive IQ single box. And I understand it goes against everything we know about beekeeping in winter conditions, to where we only have 5 frames of bees max, and we're going to throw another deep box on. Completely wrong. Knowing that, I have a completely different goal in mind. My goal is to have these boxes, both of them, full of bees by springtime. Springtime up here at 7,500 feet is Mother's Day. The question everybody's asking up here on the hill is, being late February, is this even obtainable by Mother's Day? I think it is. Ready, set, go. We'll add Orange County Beekeeping Supplies specially formulated pollen patty for maximum growth. We'll put the second box on with the frame feeder, and we will rock this. We got the bees all tucked in. We're set for maximum growth, and we'll see you in spring. And a couple more storms blow into town, creating that big fat marshmallow square on the top of our Hive IQ. With nighttime temperatures down to -11 degrees and daytime temperatures down to 20 degrees, we got quite the winter test. Now that spring has sprung, let's take a peek. It's a beautiful spring day, and I want you guys to look at that bottom box, and you see the streaks on there. That is bee poop. Those are cleansing flights. So if you're coming out of spring, you know it's going to be a nice day. Have your friends come out, be part of that spring flight, and let the bees just shat upon them. When they ask, what is all this spray in the air? What is this mist? Tell them it's lucky bee mist. Now it's on. Let's light your smoker. I opened the front of the hive all the way up. As you can see to the left right there, there's a little debris, a little paper left over from the pollen patty. The bees will eventually just push and drag that out the front door and get rid of it. Just loving seeing all the flight, bees going in and out of the hive. That's an awesome indication that things are going well. Remember, it's springtime. We are looking beyond survival. We are looking for a thrivival. We'll get the lid off right now. We got bees on the top frame. We got bees on the lid. That is an excellent indication that the bees have come out of winter well. Now we're going to use a little bit of smoke, but that's just for calming us down. The bees look fine. We're just super excited to get into this hive because we can look down and we can see all the bees on the frames. All right, party people, let's get this frame out. Wait for it. Wait for it. What do we see?
Yes, that's all nectar production.
This is a heavy frame. It's full of nectar. You can see the shine in the camera. That's all liquid nectar.
So nectar.
right, we're gonna go on. We're gonna pull this next frame, see what there is. It's very heavy. Oh, look at that. There's a patch of drone right there. You guys see that right there in the middle? See if you're curious.
Yeah.
Look, beekeepers, there's no longer any excuses to guess what's on that frame. You open up a cell like we just did, and you can see the white-faced pupa down there. Surrounding that drone comb is nectar, and then the other white stuff you guys saw in the frame, that was capped honey. Let's go get into this one. All right, up and out. Flip it, take a look. Okay, the white capping is honey. The yellow capping is worker brood. And again, if you don't know, open it up. We're gonna open up a little bit of honey right here. Then I'll move my hive tool down and open up a sealed capped brood. This way our high altitude spectators can see the difference between those two forms of capping on that frame. So we're gonna back in the hive, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
Just by moving this, I can tell by how heavy it is. It is full of nectar, as well as brood. But I want to show you guys something that's happening right now, because the nectar flow is on. I'll flip it over. Now right down here, right, where it's all hatched out, the workers are beginning to backfill the hatch out spots with nectar. This is when we really have to keep an eye on the hive and make sure that we're adding gear, that's frame, that's boxes, because if it all gets filled up with honey and there's nowhere for the queen to lay, this will cause swarming conditions. As I pull this frame out, I'm holding it a little high for the camera. I apologize, but the sun is at my back and I'm trying to see into the bottom of the comb. This particular frame has eggs, larvae, and on the outside it's packed full of nectar. As I turn the frame upside down, the nectar is actually dripping out of the frame. That tells us this nectar is very, very fresh, possibly same day, but the bees are on a flow. So this is coming into the hive, it's flowing from the flowers, from the fruit, directly into the hive right now. Now listen for a little bit of teaching moment here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you hold this,
Yep.
and so you got the cap brood here, you got the larva here, and then you got the newer, or the larva that's closer to egg stage as you go out.
Oh, I see.
And then when you get to an open frame like that, you really start looking for the queen, because you go, okay, there might be room for her to lay, but it looks pretty laid up.
You want to put this one back?
Yeah. Now remember, this is only 4.5 frames of bees going into winter, through winter, and then late February we turned it on. A couple things we're noticing is the queen is a machine. She's laying this all up. A lot of brood in this hive, a lot of nectar, and we're just removing some burr comb off the bottom of the frames. Little piece of burr comb right down here, we'll get rid of that. Keep your hive tools sharp. That's pro tip number 19. Keep your hive tools sharp, that way they go right through that wax very quickly. You're not pushing it so much, and you're less apt to hurt yourself. I didn't realize there's going to be so many bees in this box. I'm pretty thrilled, to be honest with you. I should have pulled a frame out and set it aside and then work through like that. It'd be much easier for you guys doing this. Leave a frame out instead of pulling them up in between all the other frames. Give yourself some room to work. These frames seem to be a mix of capped honey, nectar, and a bit of brood.
Would you just do it on the bottom? No.
You do it right here. When you guys are scraping off the burr comb and the wax off the frame, sometimes it has a bit of honey. We do not want that to attract ants. Don't throw it on the ground. Gather it all up, put it in a bucket, put it in a Ziploc bag, save it for candle making during the wintertime. I'm sorry I went pretty quick on this frame. It is just full of pollen. So we have nectar on the top, it's capped, so it's honey, and then the frame itself is full of pollen. You can see all the yellow and orange as I turn the frame. There we go, there's a close-up. Look at all that pollen in there. This is a perfect frame of resources for the bees. The pollen is the protein of the hive for brood rearing, and the honey is the carbohydrate of the hive for energy. Next step, putting together the top box, making sure all the frames are touching, shoulder to shoulder. There's no gaps, no space. Space is left over in the boxes, gets split up on the outside frame and the edge of the box. Now we're going to dive into the bottom box and see what we find in there. We'll make a couple adjustments to the cameras, that way you guys can see what we're seeing. This box is heavy. Using that Herculean-like beekeeping strength, we move this heavy box right on top of our lid, which our lid is sitting on the ground.
So is that, no, I mean, is that because it was on the bottom? You pulled it up?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's drone.
Okay.
So another teaching moment here. Nick was asking, what is that? And he pretty much figured it out. It was drone comb on the bottom of the frame that was above.
Got it.
I will pull this first frame out, and I will leave it out, giving us more room.
Okay, so that's just leftover pollen.
I will take a good look at this and then a double take to make sure that there's no eggs on this frame, because I don't want to leave the eggs in the direct sunlight. We are clear. Let's get into it. One breath, people are saying, oh, how come this box looks more empty? And we're using our powers of deduction saying, hey, maybe it's warmer in the upper box during winter, so they move the brood up there. Or the bees know what they're doing, and they're filling up an outside frame with all nectar, soon to be all honey, as insulation.
So they moved.
Wow, look at these brood frames in this bottom box. All right, so there's been some questions. How do we get such phenomenal brood frames from end to end? Well, I'll tell you exactly how. It's all due to the fact that we have these phenomenal queens. These queens took years of cultivation, years of relationships with some of the world's best breeders. And that's why we have access to them. And this is why Orange County Beekeeping Supplies gives you access to these queens as well. I love seeing all these brood frames that are just laid up end to end. Always wanting to be in the mix with a new camera angle. Ladies and gentlemen, Lori the Beekeeper. She's going to step up and jump right in here.
So far in here, there's 4 frames of brood and the queen. We located the queen. Let me see if I can get find her again and have you shoot the queen.
We're going to pull the frame that we found the queen on.
You see her?
At 7,500 feet, it's an incredibly sunny day. It's very hard for us to see in the camera lenses, so just bear with us. We're doing the best we can. We're saying, don't move the camera, don't shake the frame. We're laughing at each other, we're having a good time. But there's the queen for you. Something else on that frame is you're going to see protruding bigger cells. Those are drone cells mixed in there. They're not queen cells, they're drone cells. She is a red dot October 2023 queen from one of our favorite breeders. She went through winter and was ready for spring, and obviously she was ready for spring. Look at that brood.
Look at Nick, man, all knowing where my hands go.
Yeah.
Look at that, man.
Okay, beekeepers, anticipate your partner's moves.
Okay, so pollen resources. Oh, this frame's all laid up.
The back side of this frame is completely laid up from end to end. So the queen is fighting for space to lay eggs, and the foragers are fighting for space to put the nectar.
So this is a queen cup
Okay.
right there. See how it's facing down?
Yep.
So they might put a queen in there if necessary, but they probably won't.
Yeah.
But I just remove them just for ease of mind.
Okay.
Okay, so we got. our queens in there secure. So the specs in these are always tighter in the Hive IQs.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay.
All right, you guys, it's time to use the Gibson method of gear up. With all the brood in this hive, we have to gear up. We have placed all the solid brood, all the cap brood, down below in the bottom box. Box number 2 to join the party, filled with Orange County Beekeeping Foundation and frames only, no bees. When this bottom box hatches out within days, this box will become populated and the bees will pull this comb within about a week's time. The bees really seem to like this foundation quite a bit because we have not found one in the industry that they pull as fast. Inside deep box number 3, going on top of the queen excluder, we have bees, a whole lot of bees. We have honey, we have nectar, and we have the smaller amounts of brood on these frames. As the brood hatches out above the queen excluder, the worker bees will fill this empty comb with honey. Make sure your queen excluder is properly installed before you pick up a heavy box, or your partner takes care of it for you.
That side too.
Our mite treatment has been on for 60 days. We are going to pull it off now so we do not build resistance in the mites.
Okay.
Our bees are outpacing the mites at this point, and we will retest late July.
Should I be concerned about mites at all, or?
Not right now because the bees are outpacing the mites.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when they're well-treated hives.
Okay.
Okay, so smoke that.
Yep.
We'll smoke them down.
Here comes pro tip number 132.
Yeah, you want to smoke the side of the boxes.
Okay.
Kind of like hurt them. Like
Bee wrangler.
smoke it up so you push the bees back into the box. Bee wrangler.
Yeah, as Lori mentioned, get your bee wrangler on. And another point to make is you're not shoving all that smoke down into the hive, pushing your bees out the front door.
All right, so here's my concern.
Okay.
Is that enough room for honey?
I don't know.
Right? And then let's put another box in this color.
I feel like they're happy enough that it would be good.
Did you
I
get
don't-
another box on there?
Yeah.
I love Lori's thinking on this. Add another box. Of course we're going to add another box. This is Hive IQ. We know the buildup in here. We know the foraging capabilities. We know what's going to happen in this box. And we have to add another box. So Lori's thinking on this is absolutely correct.
I'll just smoke the top of it.
All right, wrangle those bees out of the way. We're going to throw another deep box on here. I think a medium box or a shallow will just fill up too darn quickly. We're going to put this on nice and slow to avoid any bee crunch because nobody likes crunchy bees. This is box number 4 with no bees in it. Blank foundation from Orange County Beekeeping Supplies. That's ready to be pulled. All right, let's sum all it up. We added 2 deep boxes. So we have 4 deep boxes total on this colony, but this colony houses over 10 frames of brood. So that brood's got to hatch out and go somewhere. That labor force will fill everything above the queen excluder with honey and everything below the queen excluder with comb and brood. Now for the comparison, Australian versus Australian hive. The Hive IQ, much easier for winter checks, piece of cake, no insulation, no wrap. The bees never had to form a hard ball cluster in the center of the hive. They were traveling up the column, getting syrup, and coming back down. And the most exciting part is they just about quadrupled in size from February to springtime. The other Australian famous hive, the Flow Hive, became extremely cumbersome when it came to winter hive checks because we had to remove all the insulation. And the Flow Hive did not even come close to doubling in size. Now, with all that being said, we were successful overwintering all the bees. We had 0 hive loss, and Hive IQ just buried Flow Hive.